Hello, back again. Been on holiday, which was very nice and hot, and it's now hot and slightly wet this afternoon, so it's pretty muggy, but it's always a good time to listen to some music. And we're going for a Latin theme today because, well, there's lots to talk about. Very sadly, I think it was last week, or was it the beginning of this week? Last week, Eddie Palmieri passed away, and he is one of the most significant figures in Latin music and in music in general. I think perhaps somebody not as well known as he should be outside of the world of Latin music, but in Latin music he's an absolute icon, and he left a very, very significant legacy which is still going on today. And he made some amazing music, and I think probably I've shown many times before, but this little trilogy, which is like the sort of socially conscious albums that he made from the late 60s, early 70s, which really encapsulate everything about music in general at that stage, not just Latin music, but with songs like Libertad Lógico, Logical Liberty, if you like, and Vámonos pa'l Monte. You get the theme here on this album, Justice, just the name gives you the idea. You've got tunes like Everything is Everything, sung in English as well, which really give you a taste of what it's about. This one as well. So absolutely lovely stuff. I'll just give you a little taste to start with.
Why do I see so much injustice? Oh, everything is everything about justice. So they tell.
And obviously for many record collectors, the album that he's most associated with and most famous for is this one, Harlem River Drive. Unfortunately, that's not an original copy. This is the Scorpio reissue from the 1990s, which is much maligned, but it's okay. It would be very nice to have an original, but that's a very, very rare record to get on original. Great cover, great record. And this album is kind of like a sort of group that he put together, which is going in more experimental into funk and soul and jazz with a Latin twist as well. But it just sits perfectly with those other albums that I've shown already. And perhaps people, they know this one, but they don't know the other ones. But really, go and look for Eddie's albums from that period, late 60s, early 70s. And you get a lot of this kind of sound, lots of Fender Rhodes. There's lots of socially conscious lyrics, and not just social consciousness, but sort of trying to do that kind of telling stories about real life. And I think it's an amazing thing. And this album is obviously very sought after, worth getting on reissues. Some albums, some people can be snooty about reissues, but an album like this is made for a reissue. It'd be really nice if there was a really top quality reissue. Maybe there is, or maybe one day there will be, but who knows. Other artists were picking up on that as well. This Joe Cuba record is fantastic. You listen to the song, Do You Feel It? It's got exactly the same sound as Harlem River Drive. This funky number here by Cortijo and his Time Machine. Again, another experimental one-off album mixing sort of a fusion of soul and funk and jazz with Latin music. Really, really great. That's another reissue as well. It'd be nice to get an original of that one. It's got a lot in common with the Harlem River Drive sound. And Eddie himself went full disco on this one, which is a deceptive album because the main single off this, Spirit of Love, is a great Latin disco number, but the rest of the album is quite stripped back Afro-Cuban sensibilities. I need to give that another listen. I haven't listened to it for a while. So yeah, really nice record. And I'll just give you another one with a sample on. This is, I think, after the Harlem River Drive and his trio of other stuff. This album, Sentido, really nice. Again, it's got exactly the same sound as Harlem River Drive on it, particularly the funky tune here, Condiciones que Existen. Really nice. I got this in a shop in London a few months ago, not that long ago, for less than a tenner. So it's out there. Eddie Palmieri is one of the legends, but his records, you won't find them that often, but there were a lot of them made, so they will turn up. So you never know, you might be surprised. This is a great one, so give it a listen. And sadly, we're getting into that stage now where a lot of the great musicians of a certain era, they're all dying off slowly. So looking at all of these musicians now that I'm going to show, they're all dead now. And that's just how it goes, I suppose. It's the same with any music, soul, rock, pop. That kind of period of the 60s and 70s, a lot of those artists are now getting to a quite ripe old age. And it was a year or so ago that we lost the great Larry Harlow as well. Here's two very nice albums from his psychedelic period. There is El Exigente, that's a great cover, that one. And this one, Electric, another quite psychedelic thing. Really good. These are kind of what, late 60s, early 70s, I think. This is actually a Colombian pressing, it's a Venezuelan job. I'm really pleased to find those ones. Both in shops, incidentally, and there's some great stuff on it. This first one's got a lot more of the boogaloo sound, which was fashionable in the sort of late 60s at that time, whereas this one is going off on all sorts of interesting little things. And the electric from the title, I think, is because he uses a lot of clavinet and does some pretty wild solos on the clavinet here. So really like this one. Gives it a kind of funky sound without being a straight up sort of funk record, but see what you think. Larry Harlow. So yeah, that kind of funky sound of Latin music in the late 60s is very much looking at that first Larry Harlow album, the El Exigente. It's the boogaloo sound, which is a kind of mix of soul at that time and Latin, and you get it from different artists. This is a classic one here from Joey Pastrano and his orchestra. Let's Ball is the name of the album. It's got some great boogaloo numbers on here. My Shingling is kind of like a classic sort of 60s dance record, but really fun. There's some really good proper Latin stuff on here as well. Rumbon Melon, really nice as well. So yeah, he's another great artist, sadly no longer with us. but yeah, an emblematic figure from the era as well. And all of those artists I've shown are classic New York artists. I think Joey and Eddie, obviously from Puerto Rican origins, but New York raised. And Larry Harlow, famously from a Jewish background, but very much all New York. But moving a bit further on that, and keeping with that boogaloo sound, another artist who very sadly recently passed away, Nelson y sus Estrellas, another big band leader. Nelson Gonzalez is the guy from Venezuela, and this is it's a compilation of a triple compilation. They love making these. Can you open it up? Yeah, you can actually. Quite like the design of the jacket because it comes with a kind of like a book thing going on, and they've basically taken loads of his LPs, which have quite memorable covers if you look at them there, and sort of stuck them on together for this compilation. And it's got some really good stuff on this. This was actually a gift from my mother-in-law, which was very nice of her. But yeah, nice to know that sound was kind of international as well. And then we've got to go, if we're going to keep with that funky Latin sound, we can't forget Cuba, because Cuba is in many ways the origin of the Latin sound. But the funky music which comes from Cuba is always slightly different. It's kind of noisy and rowdy, and doesn't come across as perhaps as slick as some of the sort of funky music from the States. So here's a great album from the group Irakere. I love this cover as well, really, of the era. But yeah, really nice, rather flimsy cover. But yeah, it's a really good record, this one. Bacalao con Pan is the big tune from that. This is their first album. You can get it with lots of different covers, but I'm really glad I found it with that one. And you may remember from the Buena Vista Social Club, Omar Portoando. Well, this is an old record that she made. Does it have a year on it? Not that I can see. It must have been in the 70s sometime, I think. And it's an interesting one. It's got some good songs on it. It's got some odd ones. But yeah, great cover as well. But yeah, I don't think she really got to huge fame until the Buena Vista Social Club, like I said. But there's some nice songs on here. It's kind of soft. There's funky bits, but it's not that funky. Interestingly, the producer is Juan Pablo Torres, who is a guy you want to look out for. And I think Mr. Bongo have recently re-released some of his albums, which are definitely worth giving a listen to. I do have one here, which is not from the re-released, I don't think. This is Y Viva la Felicidad, is the name of this record. And it's got this kind of rowdy, rambunctious, noisy sound going on. Lots of instruments all fighting for space on the record. And it's all sounds a bit like it's been recorded in a concert hall, so it's quite echoey. But it's got a definite metallic sound to it, which I really like. I think this album, he was a trombonist, but produced a lot of other stuff for other artists as well, and has quite a particular sound. Definitely an artist worth investigating. And this album's okay. It's not as consistent as some of the ones that I know they've re-released. So maybe I'll treat myself, although I treat myself a little too often these days, so perhaps we need to just cool it for a bit. But yeah, this is a nice one to have. The title track here, Y Viva la Felicidad. That's the tune you want. All right, so there it is, some Latin stuff, from slightly funky Latin stuff from our late departed masters of Latin music. Anyway, I hope everybody's well, and keep making videos. It's nice to see them every now and again. I know in the summer people get busy and everything, but it's nice to have a video to watch every now and again. Anyway, until the next time, all the best.